It's wonderful to have you here. Right now, while the world outside continues its restless turning, your body already knows something. Your mind is still learning. That rest is not something you earn. It is something you are given, the moment you allow it. Tonight, you'll discover what science has quietly confirmed about the art of sleeping well, and understand why your body has been trying to help you all along. Welcome to Sleep Science Documentary. Wherever you are right now, perhaps lying in the soft weight of your blankets, or resting in the familiar quiet of your room, allow yourself this space. We'll trace 100 psychology facts about sleep, from the first whisper of drowsiness that begins hours before your eyes close, to the deep rhythms of restoration your brain enters in the night, to the quiet science of waking rested, renewed, and whole. These gentle journeys through the science of rest build a sanctuary for exhausted minds. A soft like, subscribe, or a quiet share creates a pathway for more restless souls to discover this peaceful space, and brings us closer to protecting it for every tired mind that finds its way here. One peaceful night, one sleepy soul at a time. Your presence here tonight means everything. Let yourself settle completely here. Feel your jaw unclench, your shoulders drop, your breath deepen on its own. You don't need to hold on to any of these ideas about sleep. Just notice that soft, drowsy warmth beginning to gather around you, like your mind slowly dimming its own brightness. Thoughts dissolving gently into the peaceful fog, already forming at the edges of this moment. Close your eyes and breathe deeply. You're floating where the mind releases its grip on the day. Let your thoughts drift with the slow tide of rest. And now we begin. Sleep is not a pause in life. It is one of life's most active processes. For most of human history, sleep was misunderstood as a kind of passive shutdown, a nightly vacancy in which nothing of consequence occurred. Modern neuroscience has overturned that completely. During sleep, your brain shifts into a different mode of extraordinary productivity. It consolidates memories, flushes metabolic waste, regulates hormones, repairs tissues, and rehearses emotional responses. The hours you spend asleep are, in many ways, the most industrious hours of your entire day. Sleep is not the absence of living. It is where much of living is quietly completed. And understanding this changes everything about how you might approach the hours between now and morning. Your brain has its own cleaning system, and research suggests it runs most efficiently at night. Researchers studying a waste clearance network surrounding the brain's blood vessels, called the glymphatic system, have found in animal studies and in growing human research that this system becomes considerably more active during sleep. Cerebrospinal fluid appears to flow more freely through these channels at night, helping clear proteins and byproducts that accumulate during waking hours. Among them is a protein whose buildup, over years, has been associated with changes in cognitive function. The evidence continues to develop, but what it points toward is consistent. The sleeping brain appears to tend to itself in ways the waking brain simply cannot, which means that every hour of adequate sleep is, quote, in a very real sense. An investment in the clarity of tomorrow. You begin preparing for sleep long before you feel tired. The body's sleep-wake system operates on two interacting mechanisms. The first is called the circadian rhythm, an internal biological clock running on roughly a 24-hour cycle, governed by light exposure and a master cluster of neurons in the brain's hypothalamus. The second is called sleep pressure, driven by a molecule called adenosine that accumulates in the brain throughout every waking hour. As the day progresses, adenosine builds, and the pressure to sleep grows steadily, like water rising in a reservoir. These two systems work together, one measuring the time of day, the other measuring how long you have been awake. When they align, sleep arrives, like something inevitable. Knowing this, you can begin to work with these systems rather than against them. And that cooperation is where better sleep begins. Your body temperature drops when sleep approaches, and this cooling is one of the most reliable signals that rest is near. Several hours before your natural bedtime, the body begins radiating heat outward through the skin of the hands, feet, and face, a process called peripheral vasodilation, in which blood vessels near the skin's surface widen to release heat. Core temperature falls by roughly 1 to 2 degrees Fahrenheit. This is not a side effect of lying still. It is a signal the brain sends deliberately, a physiological invitation for sleep to begin. Sleeping environments that are slightly cool support this natural process, while environments that are too warm can delay it. The body's cooling system is already working on your behalf. Every evening, without being asked, the hormone melatonin is often described as a sleep hormone, but that description undersells its role. Melatonin does not cause sleep directly. Instead, it signals the brain and body that darkness has arrived, cueing a cascade of physiological changes that collectively lower alertness and prepare the system for rest. Melatonin production begins in the pineal gland, a small structure deep in the brain, typically rising in the early evening and peaking in the middle of the night. Exposure to bright light, particularly the blue wavelength light common in screens, can suppress melatonin production, delaying its natural rise and, with it, the onset of sleep readiness. Darkness, in this sense, is not merely an absence. It is a message, and one of the simplest ways to sleep better is to let the evening grow a little darker, a little earlier. Sleep unfolds in cycles, not in a single continuous state. Each night, you move through several distinct stages, cycling through them roughly 4 to 6 times. The two broad categories are non-REM sleep, which includes lighter and deeper stages of quiet rest, and REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep, in which the brain becomes intensely active while the body remains largely still. Each full cycle lasts approximately 90 minutes. The balance between stages shifts across the night. Early cycles tend to contain more slow-wave, deeply restorative sleep. Later cycles lean more heavily toward REM. Both are necessary, and both serve you in ways that nothing else can replicate. Protecting those later cycles by not cutting sleep short, is one of the most straightforward things you can do to wake feeling truly restored. Slow wave sleep, sometimes called deep sleep, is the stage most associated with physical restoration. During this stage, the brain produces slow, high-amplitude electrical waves called delta waves, which reflect a state of widespread neural synchrony. Growth hormone is released in its greatest pulses during deep sleep, supporting tissue repair, immune function, and metabolic regulation. The muscles relax deeply, heart rate and breathing slow. Blood pressure drops. The immune system conducts a significant portion of its maintenance work during this stage, producing and deploying cells that defend against infection and repair damage accumulated during waking hours. Deep sleep is where the body tends to itself most thoroughly. It is available to you every night, and it asks only that you give it the time and the conditions it requires. REM sleep is the stage most associated with dreaming, but its functions extend well beyond the vivid narratives that play out behind closed eyes. During REM, the brain is highly active, showing patterns of electrical activity that in some ways resemble wakefulness. The limbic system, the brain's emotional processing center, is particularly engaged. Researchers have found that REM sleep plays an important role in emotional regulation, essentially allowing the brain to process difficult experiences in a neurochemical environment that differs from wakefulness. One prominent theory, supported by a growing body of sleep research, suggests that REM sleep may help separate the emotional charge from difficult memories while preserving their content. Sleep, in this view, is a form of overnight therapy, one that requires nothing from you except the willingness to rest. The timing of sleep matters as much as its duration. Your circadian clock is set to a specific chronotype, a natural tendency toward earlier or later sleep and wake times that varies from person to person and is influenced by genetics, age, and light exposure. Teenagers, for biological reasons not fully understood, but likely related to shifts in melatonin timing, tend toward later chronotypes. Older adults often shift earlier. Research consistently finds that sleeping against your chronotype, such as being required to wake early when your biology prefers later sleep, it can reduce sleep quality even when total sleep hours remain the same. The body prefers to sleep at its preferred time and notices when it cannot. Where possible, aligning your schedule with your natural rhythm is among the most powerful adjustments available to you. Your brain does not rest evenly during sleep, and understanding this is the beginning of working with it rather than against it. The prefrontal cortex, associated with planning, judgment, and rational thinking, is largely quieted during deep sleep. The hippocampus, central to memory formation, is intensely engaged during slow-wave sleep, replaying the events of the day and transferring information to long-term storage. The default mode network remains active during certain phases, while emotional processing centers take their turn during REM. Brain imaging research has revealed that the sleeping brain is not a uniform landscape of quiet. It is a shifting, dynamics, purposeful activity, each region resting when it should. working when it must. The brain during sleep is not idle. It is doing exactly what it needs to do to give you a better tomorrow. Memory consolidation during sleep is one of the most well-supported findings in sleep science, and it has direct implications for how you learn, work, and feel when you encounter something new, a fact, a skill, a route through an unfamiliar city. The neural patterns encoding that learning are initially fragile. Sleep strengthens them. During slow-wave sleep, the hippocampus replays recent memories in compressed form, while the cortex gradually absorbs and integrates them into existing knowledge structures. Research has shown that people who sleep after learning perform significantly better on recall tests than those who remain awake. The phrase "sleep on it" turns out to reflect something neurologically real. Whatever you encountered today, the conversations, the challenges, the small moments worth keeping, sleep is already deciding how to preserve them. Dreams are not random noise. For much of the 20th century, dreams were treated by some researchers as the meaningless byproduct of random neural firing during REM sleep. More recent perspectives have shifted considerably. Dream content tends to incorporate emotionally significant material from recent experience, replayed and recombined in ways that may support emotional processing and problem-solving. Some researchers have described dreaming as a kind of simulation in which the brain runs through scenarios using memories, fears, desires, and half-formed ideas. Others emphasize its role in emotional regulation. The full function of dreaming remains one of neuroscience's genuinely open questions, and that uncertainty, somehow, makes it feel more rather than less significant. Your dreaming mind is working on something. Perhaps the most generous thing you can offer it is simply the time and stillness to continue. The brain during REM sleep deliberately quiets the body's ability to move. This state, called REM atonia, is produced by specific neurons in the brainstem that inhibit the motor neurons controlling the muscles. Without this mechanism, the body would physically enact the movements of dreams. Separate from this system, many people experience brief, involuntary muscle twitches at the very edge of sleep, called hypnic jerks, a common and entirely benign phenomenon that researchers associate with the transition from wakefulness into the first stage of sleep. As the nervous system shifts its mode, in a small percentage of people, the REM paralysis system itself becomes disrupted in a more sustained way, resulting in a condition called REM, sleep behavior disorder, in which physical movement occurs during dreams. The existence of this protective mechanism reveals just how carefully the sleeping body manages the boundary between dreaming and doing, and how thoughtfully the architecture of sleep is designed. Consistently short sleep, over many weeks and months, is associated with gradual changes in the brain, a quiet erosion of the regions involved in memory, decision-making, and emotional steadiness. Sleep-deprived brains show heightened activity in the amygdala, the brain's alarm center, and reduced connectivity between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, the region that normally modulates emotional responses. This pattern resembles the neural signature of anxiety, which is part of why tired people often feel more reactive, more worried, and more overwhelmed than their circumstances alone would explain. These changes are not permanent. They are responsive. The brain that is given adequate sleep tends, over time, to recover much of what brief sleep had quietly borrowed from it. Caffeine works by disguising tiredness, not eliminating it. Adenosine, the molecule that accumulates during wakefulness and creates sleep pressure, binds to specific receptors in the brain that signal fatigue and promote relaxation. Caffeine's primary mechanism of action is to block those receptors. It does not reduce adenosine itself. The molecule continues to accumulate. What caffeine does is temporarily prevent the brain from sensing the signal. When caffeine is metabolized and its effects wear off, the accumulated adenosine floods the now available receptors, producing the familiar crash. The half-life of caffeine in the human body is approximately 5 to 6 hours, meaning that a cup of coffee consumed at 3 in the afternoon still has half its original concentration in the bloodstream at 8 or 9 in the evening. Knowing this is itself a form of sleep improvement, a small, practical shift with a measurable effect on the night that follows. Light is the most powerful regulator of the human circadian clock, and intentionally using it is one of the most accessible ways to improve sleep. The retina contains specialized cells, distinct from those responsible for ordinary vision, that respond specifically to light in the blue wavelength range and send signals directly to the brain's master clock in the hypothalamus. Morning light exposure, particularly in the first hour after waking, has been shown in research to anchor the circadian rhythm, making it easier to feel awake during the day and sleepy at the appropriate time at night. Evening light exposure, particularly from screens, can shift the clock later, delaying sleep onset. The relationship between light and sleep is not peripheral. It is foundational. Morning light and evening dimness are two of the simplest, most evidence-supported tools available for sleeping better. The need for sleep varies across the lifespan in predictable patterns. Newborns sleep 16 to 18 hours per day, with large proportions of REM sleep believed to support rapid neural development. Children require 9 to 12 hours. Teenagers need 8 to 10, and their biology tends to push sleep timing later. Adults generally function best with 7 to 9 hours, and the research consistently finds that people who sleep in this range show better cognitive performance, emotional resilience, and long-term health outcomes than those sleeping significantly more or less. Older adults often find that sleep becomes lighter and more fragmented, with earlier morning waking. Though the need for sleep does not disappear with age, it simply changes in character. Whatever your stage of life, the need is real, and meeting it remains one of the most meaningful things you can do for yourself. Exercise improves sleep, but the timing matters. Regular physical activity has been consistently linked to faster sleep onset, greater amounts of slow-wave sleep, and subjective reports of sleeping more deeply. The mechanisms likely include exercise's effects on adenosine buildup, body temperature, regulation, and stress hormone reduction. However, Vigorous exercise in the 2 to 3 hours immediately before bedtime can elevate core body temperature and increase sympathetic nervous system activity in ways that temporarily work against sleep onset. Moderate exercise earlier in the day, or even gentle movement in the evening, tends to support rather than hinder sleep. The body likes to wind down gradually, and exercise can either support or disrupt that, depending on when it happens. Moving your body during the day is one of the most reliable gifts you can give yourself for the night that follows. Anxiety and sleep exist in a bi-directional relationship, each shaping the other in ways that can feel circular but are not inescapable. Poor sleep amplifies anxiety, and anxiety makes sleep harder to achieve. Research using functional brain imaging has shown that sleep deprivation increases reactivity in the amygdala while reducing activity in the medial prefrontal cortex, a change that closely mirrors the neural patterns seen in anxiety. Meanwhile, the cognitive and physiological arousal that characterizes anxiety, racing thoughts, elevated heart rate, muscle tension, directly opposes the conditions the brain requires to initiate sleep. This cycle, once recognized, can begin to loosen. Understanding that poor sleep amplifies anxiety, and that anxiety, in turn, delays sleep, is itself a form of relief. The loop is not permanent. It responds to patience and to the gentle practices that sleep science has documented across decades of research. The bedroom environment shapes sleep more than most people realize, and small changes here tend to produce some of the most immediate results. Research in environmental sleep science has examined the effects of temperature, light, noise, and even scent on sleep quality. Darkness promotes melatonin production and helps the brain maintain sleep through the night. Quiet is associated with more continuous sleep and less time spent in lighter stages. A slightly cool room supports the body's natural pre-sleep temperature drop. Studies have also examined the effects of certain scents, such as lavender, finding some evidence that they may influence the nervous system in ways that support relaxation. Though the research in this area remains preliminary and worthy of gentle curiosity, the bedroom, when it becomes a place the nervous system associates with safety and rest, does a significant portion of the work of sleep preparation simply by being entered. The relationship between sleep and the immune system is intimate and bidirectional. Sleep supports immune function, and illness disrupts sleep. During sleep, the body increases production of cytokines, signaling proteins that help coordinate the immune response. Certain immune cells are more active during sleep than during wakefulness. Research has shown that people who sleep fewer than 7 hours per night are significantly more susceptible to the common cold when experimentally exposed to the virus than those who sleep longer. The immune system, it appears, does much of its repair and rehearsal work under the cover of night. When we say the body is fighting something, we often mean it is doing so most effectively while we sleep. Protecting sleep is, in this very literal sense, a way of protecting the body's ability to protect itself. Some animals sleep in ways that challenge our intuitions about what sleep requires, and in doing so, they reveal just how adaptable and essential this process truly is. Dolphins and certain other cetaceans practice unihemispheric slow-wave sleep, resting one hemisphere of the brain at a time while the other remains awake, allowing the animal to continue swimming and breathing at the surface. Migratory birds have been shown through behavioral and neural studies to be capable of brief microsleeps during flight. Some species of shark must keep moving to breathe, yet researchers have found behavioral evidence suggesting they may rest in reduced activity states near the ocean floor. How different species manage their need for rest across such varied circumstances remains an active area of investigation. What is consistent across this remarkable variety of life is the need itself. Sleep is not a feature that evolution kept by accident. It is something no living thing has managed to do without. Social connection influences sleep in ways that neuroscience is only beginning to document. Research has found that loneliness is associated with poorer sleep quality, more fragmented sleep, and greater nighttime wakefulness, an effect that appears to operate partly through heightened hypervigilance, as the socially isolated brain remains more alert to potential threats. Feeling safe in one's relationships appears to support the conditions the nervous system requires to fully relax into sleep. Conversely, studies have found that positive social interactions during the day are associated with better sleep that night. Sleep, in this view, is not entirely a private biological event. It is shaped, quietly and continuously, by the texture of our connections with other people, the warmth you carry into your bed at night. From conversation, from kindness, from feeling known, is itself a form of sleep preparation. The foods you eat in the hours before bed can influence the quality of sleep in ways that are worth knowing. Large meals close to bedtime can interfere with sleep by elevating core temperature and engaging the digestive system at a time when the body is trying to wind down. Foods high in refined sugars are associated with more fragmented sleep in some studies. On the other hand, foods containing tryptophan, an amino acid used by the brain to produce serotonin and eventually melatonin, may support sleep readiness. These include turkey, dairy, nuts, and seeds. Foods high in magnesium, such as leafy greens and legumes, have also been studied for their potential role in supporting the nervous system's shift toward relaxation. The body's preparation for sleep begins, in part, at the dinner table. What you offer it, in those evening hours, it receives as either a help or a hindrance. Napping is a legitimate and well-studied tool for improving alertness, mood, and cognitive performance. When timed thoughtfully, a short nap of 10 to 20 minutes, taken in the early afternoon, has been shown in research to improve vigilance, learning, and emotional regulation without causing grogginess or significantly interfering with nighttime sleep. Longer naps, particularly those exceeding 30 to 45 minutes, may enter slow-wave sleep, which can result in sleep inertia, the disoriented, heavy feeling that follows deep sleep interruption. Late afternoon or evening naps can reduce sleep pressure enough to delay nighttime sleep onset. Napping is not laziness in disguise. In many cultures around the world, midday rest has long been understood as a form of wisdom. The science, it turns out, has been quietly agreeing with them all along. Let's pause here and notice your body. As you breathe out slowly, appreciate each tiny cell inside. Right now, every cell in your body knows how to do this. This state, this descent into rest, has been practiced by your ancestors for hundreds of thousands of years. The mechanisms of sleep were refined long before language, long before cities, long before any of the beautiful complexity of modern life. Your body carries that ancient knowledge, trillions of processes working in silence, heart beating, lungs breathing, brain softening into its nighttime rhythm, all without your direction. You are doing one of the oldest things a human body knows how to do. Now we continue. Insomnia is among the most common sleep difficulties in the world, and understanding what it actually is changes how we approach it. Research estimates that between 10 and 30% of adults experience chronic insomnia, defined as difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking too early, occurring at least 3 nights per week for at least 3 months. Insomnia is not simply a sleep problem. It is recognized as a disorder of hyperarousal, a state in which the brain and body remain at a level of elevated alertness that resists the downregulation required for sleep. The most thoroughly studied and validated treatment is not medication. It is a structured psychological approach called cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, which directly addresses the thoughts, behaviors, and physiological patterns that maintain arousal. The good news embedded in this finding is significant. If thoughts and behaviors are maintaining the problem, thoughts and behaviors can also be changed. The concept of sleep hygiene describes the collection of habits and environmental conditions that support healthy sleep. The practices most consistently supported by evidence include maintaining a regular sleep and wake schedule, creating a dark and cool sleeping environment, limiting caffeine in the second half of the day, reducing screen exposure in the evening, and associating the bed primarily with sleep rather than with work or stimulating activity. The bed, in this framework, is ideally a cue, a context the brain comes to associate reliably with the transition into sleep. For people without underlying sleep disorders, these practices are genuinely and meaningfully helpful. They do not require perfection. They require only consistency, applied gently, over time, small habits, tended patiently, become the conditions in which sleep begins to arrive more readily. Sleep restriction. One of the core techniques in cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia works by temporarily consolidating and deepening sleep through the deliberate accumulation of sleep pressure. Rather than allowing a person to spend long hours in bed with fragmented, shallow sleep, the approach initially limits time in bed to the hours actually being slept. As sleep becomes more continuous and restorative, the allowed time in bed is gradually extended. The short-term experience of increased sleepiness gives way to a rebuilt association between bed and efficient sleep. Research comparing this approach to sleep medication consistently finds that behavioral treatment produces more durable results, improvements that persist after treatment ends, rather than reverting when an intervention is withdrawn. The body, when given a clear and consistent context for sleep, tends to rediscover its own capacity for it. Stimulus control therapy is another well-evidenced behavioral approach to improving sleep, and its logic is elegantly straightforward. The brain learns associations between environments and states. If you routinely lie in bed awake, worrying, scrolling, watching, or working, the brain learns to associate the bed with wakefulness and alertness rather than with sleep. Stimulus control therapy systematically rebuilds that association by instructing people to use the bed only for sleep, to leave the bed, if awake, for more than approximately 20 minutes, and to return only when genuinely sleepy. Over time, the bed becomes a reliable cue for the brain to begin its descent. The body starts to respond to simply lying down in the way it was always meant to, with the quiet ease of surrender. The environment becomes an ally rather than an obstacle. The mind's activity during the 20 minutes before sleep significantly shapes how quickly and how deeply sleep arrives. Research on pre-sleep cognition has documented that worry, planning, and emotionally charged thinking are among the strongest predictors of delayed sleep onset. The brain in this state is generating the exact opposite of the conditions sleep requires: elevated arousal, forward-focused attention, and a neurochemical profile more suited to problem-solving than to rest. One well-studied approach involves writing down tomorrow's concerns or tasks before bed, which has been shown in research to reduce the intrusive thinking that delays sleep. Externalizing worries onto paper appears to give the planning brain permission to disengage. The page becomes a holding space for tomorrow, and the night becomes available for rest. Breathing is one of the most direct bridges between the thinking mind and the sleeping body. Slow, deep, rhythmic breathing activates the rest and recovery branch of the nervous system while quieting the alert, mobilized state that delays sleep. Techniques involving extended exhalation are particularly effective because the exhalation phase of breathing is associated with this calming response. Research on slow breathing interventions has found measurable reductions in heart rate, blood pressure, and stress hormones, alongside subjective improvements in relaxation. The breath is one of the few physiological processes that is both automatic and voluntarily controllable, which makes it uniquely available as a tool for shifting the body's state from arousal toward rest. You do not need equipment, darkness, or silence to use it. You only need to notice it and to let it slow. The body scan, a practice with roots in mindfulness meditation and now widely incorporated into clinical sleep interventions, works by redirecting attention from the busy, worrying mind to the quieter, more constant sensations of the body, systematically moving attention through different parts of the body, noticing temperature, pressure, heaviness, or tingling without judgment, anchors awareness in the physical present and disrupts the ruminative thinking patterns that delay sleep. Research on mindfulness-based interventions for sleep has found improvements in sleep onset, sleep quality, and nighttime wakefulness, with benefits persisting for months after the practices are learned. The body, it turns out, is not merely where sleep happens. It is one of the most reliable doorways into sleep, and it is always available, always present, always waiting to be noticed. sleep and mood exist in an extraordinarily close relationship. Studies using both self-report and objective measures consistently find that a single night of poor sleep is associated with increased negative effect, more irritability, sadness, anxiety, and emotional reactivity, and decreased positive affect. These changes are detectable even in people without mood disorders. In individuals with depression, sleep disturbance is both a symptom and a contributing factor. Research has found that addressing sleep quality often produces improvements in mood that are independent of other interventions. Sleep is not simply influenced by mental health. It actively shapes it, which means that improving sleep is not only about rest. It is about the quality of attention, patience, and kindness you bring to everything else. Cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, follows a daily rhythm that is intimately tied to sleep. Under normal conditions, cortisol levels are lowest in the early hours of sleep and begin rising in the hours before natural waking, reaching a peak shortly after waking. This morning cortisol rise is part of the body's preparation for the day, sharpening attention and mobilizing energy resources. When stress becomes prolonged, this rhythm can become disrupted, keeping cortisol elevated into the evening and making the transition toward sleep harder to complete. Poor sleep, in turn, can maintain elevated cortisol. Like the relationship between anxiety and sleep, the relationship between stress and sleep responds most effectively when both are addressed together, gently, consistently, without urgency. Temperature regulation during sleep is more active and sophisticated than is commonly appreciated. The body does not simply cool passively when lying still. It actively redirects blood flow toward the skin, increasing heat dissipation through the hands, feet, and face. Warm baths or foot soaks taken 1 to 2 hours before bed have been shown in research to actually improve sleep onset, not by warming the body, but by triggering this exact mechanism. Blood flows to the skin, heat is released at the surface, and core temperature drops in response. The sleeping brain interprets this drop as readiness. It is a counterintuitive finding, with a straightforward application. A warm soak in the early evening can become one of the simplest and most pleasant sleep rituals available. The body cooperates readily once it understands the invitation. Sleep deprivation reduces the brain's capacity for creative thinking, and restoring sleep restores it. Research involving tasks that require novel combinations of existing knowledge, the kind of lateral, intuitive thinking that underlies insight, consistently finds that well-rested individuals outperform sleep-deprived ones. REM sleep, in particular, has been linked to a loosening of associative networks in the brain, allowing connections to form between concepts not routinely linked during wakefulness. Several researchers have described this as a kind of cognitive flexibility, a softening of the boundaries between categories of thought that supports creative problem-solving. The tradition of sleeping on a difficult problem reflects something the sleeping brain genuinely does. The morning after a good night of sleep is often when the answer, or something close to it, arrives quietly and fully formed. The experience of waking from sleep is itself shaped by sleep stage. Waking from deep, slow-wave sleep produces the groggy, disoriented state called sleep inertia, in which cognitive performance is temporarily reduced and may take up to 30 minutes to fully recover. Waking from lighter sleep, such as stage 2 non-REM or the transition out of REM, tends to produce a cleaner, more alert transition. Natural waking, when it occurs after a completed sleep cycle, often happens spontaneously during lighter sleep, which is why waking without an alarm can sometimes feel more refreshing than waking to an abrupt interruption of deep sleep. Where possible, allowing the body to complete its cycles naturally, even occasionally, offers a noticeably different quality of morning. The gut microbiome appears to influence sleep in ways researchers are still working to understand. The gut and brain communicate continuously through the vagus nerve and through the chemical environment of the bloodstream. In a relationship described as the gut-brain axis, certain gut bacteria produce or influence the production of neurotransmitters, including serotonin, most of which is produced in the gut rather than the brain, and GABA, which plays a central role in reducing neural excitability and easing the transition towards sleep. Preliminary research has found associations between gut microbiome composition and sleep quality, with some evidence that dietary patterns supporting microbiome health may in turn support more restful nights. The relationship is early in its scientific exploration, but it points towards something worth holding gently. Caring for the body across the whole of the day has quiet consequences for the night. The phenomenon of sleep talking, technically called somniloquy, occurs during any sleep stage and is common across the lifespan. Children experience it more frequently than adults. The content of sleep speech ranges from simple sounds and unintelligible murmuring to complete sentences. Sleep talkers are rarely aware of their vocalizations. Neurologically, sleep talking appears to reflect a partial, localized activation of speech-related brain regions during sleep, while the broader systems governing consciousness and memory remain in their sleeping state. It is generally considered benign and harmless. The sleeping brain, it turns out, does not always fall entirely silent. Sometimes it has something left to say, or something it is still, quietly, working through. Alcohol disrupts sleep more than it aids it. Despite the common experience of alcohol facilitating drowsiness and faster sleep onset, its effects on sleep architecture are largely detrimental. Alcohol suppresses REM sleep in the first half of the night, reducing the amount of this emotionally and cognitively restorative stage. In the second half of the night, as the body metabolizes alcohol and its sedating effects wear off, there is a rebound of activity that tends to fragment sleep and increase the likelihood of early waking. The result is often a night that begins with rapid sleep onset but ends with light, the broken sleep, and a morning that feels poorly rested despite adequate hours in bed. The brain notices what sleep it was given, and it notices, quietly and completely, when that sleep was incomplete. You're still here, still listening, perhaps drifting somewhere between the facts and the quiet. Take a gentle breath. Notice the weight of your body against the surface beneath you. settled, unhurried, and exactly where it should be. We're exploring sleep together. You and I, and every other tired mind listening in the dark tonight. Moving through this science like slow water, finding its way. There's no destination, only the journey. Let's continue. Sleep plays a significant role in regulating appetite, and consistently short sleep can make healthy eating considerably harder. Two hormones central to hunger are directly influenced by sleep duration and quality. Ghrelin, the hormone that signals hunger, rises with sleep deprivation. Leptin, the hormone that signals fullness, falls. The result is a neurochemical environment that promotes increased appetite, particularly for high-calorie, carbohydrate-rich foods. Following a poor night of sleep, research has found that sleep-deprived individuals consume more calories the following day and report stronger cravings for energy-dense foods. Improving sleep is, among many other things, a way of supporting the body's own appetite regulation, allowing the hormones that govern hunger and fullness to do their work without the interference that tiredness creates. The concept of social jet lag describes the mismatch between a person's biological clock and the sleep schedule imposed by social and professional obligations. When people sleep significantly later on weekends than on weekdays, a pattern common across many industrialized societies, the circadian clock shifts in response. The return to an earlier schedule on Monday morning, then, creates a disruption similar in effect to traveling across time zones. Research has found that greater social jet lag is associated with higher rates of fatigue, reduced well-being, and metabolic irregularities over time. The finding has a practical implication that is quietly worth noting. Keeping sleep and wake times consistent across the entire week, including weekends, is one of the most effective regulators of circadian rhythm available. The clock is responsive to consistency, and it rewards it. The experience of feeling unable to move upon waking, called sleep paralysis, reflects a temporary overlap between the REM sleep state and consciousness. During REM, the body is quieted to prevent the enactment of dreams. In sleep paralysis, this quieting persists briefly into wakefulness, sometimes accompanied by vivid sensory experiences. As dream imagery blends into the real environment, the experience can feel unsettling, but it is physiologically benign and typically lasts only seconds to a few minutes. It is more likely to occur during periods of sleep deprivation or irregular sleep schedules, which means that caring for sleep regularity can reduce its frequency. Across history and cultures, sleep paralysis has been interpreted through the lens of supernatural visitation. What it actually reflects is the sleeping brain's careful management of the boundary between dreaming and waking. A system designed for protection, not for fear. Music can be a genuine sleep aid, with a growing body of research supporting its use in the hours before sleep and during it. Studies examining the effects of slow tempo, low arousal music on sleep outcomes have found improvements in sleep onset, sleep quality, and a reduction in nighttime waking. The mechanisms likely include music's effects on the nervous system, slow rhythms, gently entraining breathing and heart rate toward more relaxed baselines, as well as its capacity to redirect attention away from intrusive thoughts. Classical music, ambient soundscapes, and slow instrumental pieces have been the most studied. Quieter, slower music tends to produce more reliable benefits. The sleeping brain does not fully close its ears. Sound remains a visitor in the night, and the right sound is among the kindest visitors it can receive. Certain psychological techniques have been found to specifically reduce the racing thoughts that delay sleep onset, and they are simpler than they might appear. One well-studied approach involves scheduled worry time, setting aside a specific 15 to 30-minute period in the early evening to deliberately think through concerns, write them down, and note brief action steps. When worry arises at bedtime, individuals remind themselves that it has been acknowledged and redirect attention. Research has found that this approach measurably reduces pre-sleep cognitive arousal. Another technique involves writing about things anticipated with genuine warmth or gratitude. The goal in both cases is to give the planning, problem-solving brain a time and place for its work, so that the bedroom is not recruited for that purpose. Externalizing tomorrow frees the night to be only what it is: a place for rest. Light therapy, controlled exposure to bright light at specific times of day, is among the most evidence-supported tools for improving sleep in people whose circadian rhythms have drifted. Morning bright light exposure, in particular, has been shown to anchor the circadian clock, making it easier to feel alert during the day and sleepy at an earlier hour at night. Devices delivering 10,000 lux of white light, significantly brighter than typical indoor lighting, are used clinically for this purpose. The response is mediated by the same light-sensitive retinal cells involved in circadian regulation. For individuals whose natural sleep timing has shifted significantly late, or who live in environments with limited natural winter light, light therapy can shift the clock in ways that meaningfully improve both sleep and daytime function. The clock is not fixed. With the right light, at the right time, it can be gently moved. Progressive muscle relaxation, a technique developed in the early 20th century and now supported by a substantial body of research, involves systematically tensing and then releasing muscle groups throughout the body. The cycle of deliberate tension followed by release produces a deeper level of physical relaxation than simply attempting to relax passively. The contrast between the tensed and released states makes the sensation of relaxation more detectable and more available. Research has found that this technique reduces physiological arousal, measurable in heart rate and muscle tension, and improves both sleep onset and sleep quality when practiced regularly. The body, when it has learned to release itself in this structured way, begins to recognize the release as a familiar doorway, one that opens quietly towards sleep. It can be practiced anywhere, in any bed, at any age. The relationship between chronic pain and sleep is among the most challenging in sleep medicine, and it works in both directions. Pain disrupts sleep, particularly the deeper, more restorative stages, and disrupted sleep, in turn, lowers pain thresholds, increasing sensitivity to pain the following day. This cycle, while real, is also interruptible. Research has found that improving sleep quality, even modestly, tends to reduce pain sensitivity the following day. The relationship works in both directions, which means that caring for sleep is also, quietly, a form of caring for pain. Behavioral sleep interventions are increasingly recognized as having a meaningful role to play alongside traditional pain management, offering the body a way to approach its own recovery from two directions at once. The transition from wakefulness to sleep involves a gradual, stage-by-stage shift in brainwave activity that is worth knowing as something to allow rather than direct. Fully awake and alert, the brain generates beta waves, relatively fast, low amplitude oscillation. As relaxation deepens, these shift to alpha waves, slower and more synchronized, often associated with calm, unfocused awareness. The lightest stage of non-REM sleep brings theta waves even slower and more rhythmic. Slow-wave deep sleep produces the dramatic, high-amplitude delta waves that reflect widespread neural synchrony. This progression, beta 2, alpha 2, theta 2, delta, is not a switch, but a gradient, a gradual dimming of the mind's brightness. The sounds, sensations, and thoughts of the day become softer, then distant, then simply gone. You do not have to do anything to move through these stages. You only have to stop preventing it. We are at the halfway point of our journey tonight. And the answer to the question at the heart of this video is already beginning to form. Sleep is not a single thing to be achieved or fixed. It is a process, biological, psychological, environmental, and social, that unfolds most naturally when we understand it rather than fight it. The science of better sleep is, at its core, the science of working with the body's own wisdom rather than against it. Every fact we have explored tonight is a piece of that understanding. The body knows how to sleep. What these facts offer is not instruction but reassurance. The path is already there, and with each passing minute of this night, you are already walking it. Take a moment here. Just breathe. Consider this. The memory you feel most certain about, the one that seems clearest, most vivid, most yours, is being gently rewritten each time you recall it. Not corrupted. Rewritten. Your brain is not a recording device. It is a living author, returning to the same story again and again. Each time adding something it has learned since. Right now, as you rest, that rewriting is happening. Tonight is a part of the story your brain is composing about who you are. You don't need to do anything with this. Simply let the author work, and we continue the journey. The science of sleep onset describes a process that cannot be forced. Sleep onset is not an act of will. It is a surrender. Attempts to make oneself sleep, rather than allowing sleep to arrive, often produce the opposite of the intended effect, because the effort itself generates arousal that delays the very state being sought. Sleep researchers describe this as sleep effort, a counterproductive striving towards sleep that paradoxically maintains wakefulness. The most effective approach, both behaviorally and psychologically, is one of passive allowing, creating the conditions for sleep, and then releasing any investment in whether or when it arrives. Sleep tends to come most readily when we stop watching for it. The watching is itself the interference. The releasing is itself the practice. Sound masking, using continuous background sound to reduce the contrast between silence and sudden noises, has been shown to improve sleep maintenance in a range of environments. White noise, pink noise, and nature soundscapes have all been studied in this context. Pink noise, which is weighted toward lower frequencies than white noise, has received particular attention, with some research finding that it may also support slow-wave sleep. The mechanism is not sedation, but camouflage. Rather than being woken by a sharp, sudden sound in an otherwise quiet environment, the sleeper's brain integrates sound into a more consistent background, against which disturbances are less jarring. Sometimes, a soft and steady sound is the gentlest guard the sleeping mind can have. Journaling before bed is a practice with genuine, if modest, research support for improving sleep onset. Studies have found that writing about the day's events, particularly writing that involves processing emotions and identifying meaning, can reduce pre-sleep cognitive arousal. The key distinction appears to be whether writing facilitates a sense of closure, the feeling that thoughts have been acknowledged and can be set aside, or whether it keeps the analytical mind actively engaged. Journaling as a pre-sleep ritual works best when it is exploratory rather than exhaustive, and when it ends with something that feels completed. The page becomes a holding space for what cannot yet be resolved. And the mind, once something has been written down and witnessed, often finds it a little easier to let it rest. The quality of sleep is often more important than its duration. Research distinguishing between sleep quantity and sleep quality has found that subjective satisfaction with sleep, the sense of having slept well, is a stronger predictor of daytime functioning than hours alone. Sleep quality reflects the continuity, depth, and staging of sleep, and can be poor, even when total time in bed is adequate. People who sleep 8 hours with frequent awakenings and shallow sleep often feel worse than those who sleep 6.5 hours of consolidated, deeper sleep. This is not an argument for sleeping less. Most adults do require 7 to 9 hours, but it underscores that the architecture of sleep matters alongside its length, depth, continuity, and the completion of full cycles are what the brain and body are most looking for. And these can be cultivated gently. Through the practices sleep science has mapped, chronic sleep loss accumulates into what researchers call sleep debt, a deficit that is not fully recovered over a single extended night. While a night of extended sleep following deprivation does restore some function, studies have found that the cognitive effects of chronic sleep restriction persist even after recovery sleep and take longer to fully reverse than the subjective sense of feeling rested. This means that people who have been sleeping too little may underestimate their level of impairment because their baseline sense of what rested feels like has quietly adjusted downward. The debt is real, even when it is invisible, and the path out of it is not dramatic. It is simply consistent, and a few more hours, a few more nights, until the body begins to remember what it felt like to be fully restored. Sleep deprivation, beyond its cognitive effects, touches the domain of how we relate to one another. Research examining the effects of sleep restriction on social cognition has found that sleep-deprived individuals are less sensitive to others' emotional cues, show reduced empathy, and make more impulsive decisions. These findings are consistent with the known effects of sleep deprivation on the prefrontal cortex, the region most associated with considered values-aligned behavior. When we are rested, we are more present to each other, more patient, more attuned. The quality of our attention to the people around us is shaped night by night by the quality of our sleep. Rest, in this way, is not only something we do for ourselves, it is something we offer to everyone we encounter. Dreams appear to be more than passive replays of waking experience. Research using targeted memory reactivation, a technique in which specific sounds or scents associated with a learning task are replayed during sleep, has found that selectively activating memories during slow-wave sleep can strengthen their subsequent recall. This suggests that the brain during sleep is not simply replaying memories at random but selecting, amplifying, and integrating them in purposeful ways. Some researchers have asked whether dream content itself reflects this active process of curation, the brain deciding, in its own language of image and feeling, what is worth keeping. The dream, in this view, may not only be a side effect of memory processing, it may be a window into what the sleeping mind has judged most worth preserving. The sleeping brain continues processing language and meaning at some level, even in the absence of waking consciousness. Studies presenting spoken words to sleeping individuals and monitoring brain responses have found that meaningful words, those carrying semantic content, continue to produce detectable neural responses during sleep, particularly during lighter stages. The brain appears to assess the significance of incoming information even in sleep, deciding whether it rises to a level that warrants waking. This is why a sleeper's own name, a baby's cry, or a specific familiar tone can rouse a person who sleeps through significantly louder but less meaningful sounds. The sleeping mind has not fully closed its doors. It has simply set a higher threshold for what matters enough to notice. And within that quiet selectivity, there is something almost tender. Exercise and sleep influence each other in both directions. And understanding this reciprocity can help both improve together. While regular exercise supports sleep, good sleep also supports physical performance. Studies have documented that sleep-deprived individuals show reductions in speed, accuracy, reaction time, and motivation during physical activity. Sleep is the period during which much of the adaptation to exercise actually occurs. Tissue repair, glycogen replenishment, and hormonal recovery all proceed more effectively during adequate rest. The relationship between physical effort and rest is not opposition, it is reciprocity. Each supports the other when given the chance. Moving the body during the day creates a kind of earned tiredness that the night knows how to receive. The position in which you sleep may influence more than simple comfort. Research has examined associations between sleep position and conditions, including sleep apnea, acid reflux, and the efficiency of the brain's waste clearance activity. For sleep apnea, a condition in which breathing is repeatedly interrupted during sleep, back sleeping tends to worsen symptoms, while side sleeping is generally associated with fewer interruptions. Ongoing research into the brain's glymphatic activity has suggested, primarily in animal models with early human studies underway, that side sleeping may facilitate waste clearance more efficiently than other positions. These findings are still developing, and individual variation is significant. What they reflect, at minimum, is that the position of the sleeping body is not entirely irrelevant to the quality of the sleep it holds. Magnesium is a mineral with a meaningful, if often overlooked, role in sleep regulation. It supports the activity of GABA receptors, the primary system that quiets neural activity and influences melatonin production. Research has found associations between low dietary magnesium and sleep difficulties, including problems with sleep onset and nighttime waking. Clinical trials examining magnesium supplementation in older adults with insomnia have found modest but real improvements in sleep quality and sleep onset. Foods rich in magnesium include dark, leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, almonds, and dark chocolate. The mineral is not a replacement for behavioral sleep practices, but its role in the body's sleep chemistry is real and worth holding in mind. Sometimes, the quiet support of something simple is exactly what a system needs. Sleeping in a new environment often produces lighter, more fragmented sleep, a well-documented phenomenon called the first night effect. Research has found that during sleep in unfamiliar settings, one hemisphere of the brain remains in a slightly more alert, vigilant state than the other, a pattern analogous to unihemispheric rest seen in some animals. The effect diminishes on subsequent nights as the brain accumulates evidence that the new environment is safe. It represents, researchers suggest, an evolutionarily preserved sentinel function, a quiet watchfulness that keeps part of the brain slightly alert in unfamiliar territory. The brain, in other words, is always assessing the safety of the place where sleep is attempted. Understanding this makes the first night effect not a failure, but a form of care. Microsleep. To brief, involuntary episodes of sleep, lasting from a fraction of a second to several seconds, occurs when the brain is severely sleep-deprived and attempts to compensate. During a microsleep, the individual is unresponsive to sensory input and may appear awake to an outside observer, but the brain has entered a sleep-like state. Microsleeps are particularly relevant during activities requiring continuous attention, such as driving. The brain, when it reaches a certain threshold of sleep need, will take rest wherever and whenever it can. This is not a failure of willpower. It is biology asserting itself. The most effective response is the simplest. Give the body the sleep it is asking for, before it begins to take it on its own terms. Mindfulness meditation has been studied extensively in relation to sleep, with results that are consistently encouraging. Reviews of the accumulated research have found that mindfulness-based interventions produce meaningful improvements in total sleep time, sleep quality, sleep onset, and daytime functioning affected by poor sleep. The mechanisms are multiple: reduced physiological arousal, decreased rumination, improved emotional regulation, and the cultivation of a non-reactive stance toward the thoughts and worries that delay sleep. Mindfulness does not require believing anything particular or adopting any philosophy. It is, at its most basic, the practice of noticing what is present without immediately judging or reacting to it. That practice, as it turns out, is remarkably compatible with falling asleep, noticing without grasping, observing without following, simply being with what is, until sleep arrives. Sleep apnea, characterized by repeated pauses in breathing during sleep, often associated with snoring and fragmented rest, affects a meaningful portion of the adult population, with many cases unrecognized and untreated. The condition reduces oxygen supply to the brain and body during sleep and fragments sleep architecture in ways that produce daytime sleepiness, mood changes, and reduced cognitive clarity. Treatment using continuous positive airway pressure, which delivers a gentle stream of air to keep the airway open during sleep, has been shown to improve sleep quality, daytime alertness, and quality of life substantially. Recognition and treatment of sleep apnea is one of the most direct intersections between the science of sleep and measurable long-term well-being. If rest remains elusive, despite good habits, exploring this possibility with a healthcare provider is a worthy consideration. Children's sleep differs from adults in ways that reflect the extraordinary pace of development occurring in the earliest years of life. Infants spend the majority of their sleep time in a state that resembles REM, believed to support the rapid neural construction of the developing brain. As the brain matures, the proportion of this active stage decreases and the architecture shifts toward the adult pattern. Research on children's learning, attention, and emotional regulation has consistently found sleep to be among the most significant contributing factors. Children obtaining adequate sleep showing better memory, impulse control, and mood stability than those who are chronically short on rest. The same wisdom applies across every stage of life. Sleep is not a reward for the day's completion. It is the condition that makes the next day possible. The experience of hypnagogia, the transitional state between wakefulness and sleep, is one of the most quietly fascinating territories in the study of consciousness. During this brief interval, the mind generates spontaneous, involuntary imagery, sounds, and sensations. Geometric patterns, faces, landscapes, and fragmented scenes may appear without narrative structure or authorship. Some individuals hear their name called or experience sudden, vivid flashes of imagery that feel neither fully like waking perception nor fully like dreams. This state has been cultivated deliberately by artists and thinkers throughout history. Seeking the creative looseness it seems to offer, it is the mind in transition, no longer quite awake, not yet fully dreaming, passing through a doorway that is always there, at the edge of every night, waiting for you to stop and notice it. The relationship between sleep and cardiovascular health is extensive and increasingly well documented. Research has found that consistently sleeping fewer than 6 hours per night is associated over time with higher rates of elevated blood pressure and cardiovascular strain. The mechanisms include blood pressure regulation, which drops during normal sleep and is disrupted by sleep deprivation, inflammatory markers, and autonomic nervous system balance. The cardiovascular system appears to rely on adequate sleep for a form of nightly maintenance. The periods of lowest heart rate that occur during deep sleep represent not just rest, but active recovery. The heart, taking the opportunity that sleep provides to restore itself. Caring for sleep is, among many other things, a quiet and consistent act of caring for the heart. Older adults experience well-documented changes in sleep architecture as part of the normal aging process. Deep, slow-wave sleep decreases with age, beginning in young adulthood and continuing gradually across the lifespan. REM sleep is somewhat more preserved. The circadian clock tends to advance with age, producing earlier natural sleep and wake times. Nighttime wakefulness becomes more common. These changes are not inevitable markers of dysfunction. They represent a genuine shift in the sleep system as it ages, much as hearing, vision, and physical flexibility change over time. What remains constant is the body's continued need for adequate, quality rest, and the value of the practices that support it. Age changes what sleep looks like. It does not diminish what sleep offers. Certain plant-derived compounds have been studied for their sleep-supporting properties, with varying degrees of evidence. Valerian root has the most extensive research, with some studies finding modest effects on sleep onset and sleep quality, though results remain mixed enough that researchers note the need for larger, more rigorous trials. Lavender in aromatherapy form has shown consistent, modest effects on subjective sleep quality and nervous system indicators of relaxation across multiple studies. Chamomile and passionflower have also been examined, with preliminary findings that are cautiously encouraging. These approaches are generally considered low risk when used in appropriate amounts, and they work most effectively as complements to behavioral sleep practices rather than as replacements for them. The garden has always had something to offer the sleepless. Science is learning, slowly, which gifts are most genuine. The post-lunch dip, a natural increase in sleepiness occurring in the early to mid-afternoon, is observed across cultures and reflects genuine circadian biology rather than the simple effects of a meal. Research using continuous activity monitoring has documented this pattern across populations, including in cultures without strong lunch traditions, suggesting it is a real feature of the circadian rhythm. The dip typically occurs approximately 7 to 8 hours after waking, representing a brief period when the circadian drive for alertness decreases slightly before rising again into the evening. For many people, this is the biological window in which a short nap, if taken, carries the most benefit and the least disruption to nighttime sleep. The afternoon lull is not a sign of weakness. It is the body following a rhythm older than any schedule. Writing about tomorrow's specific tasks before bed has been studied as a means of improving sleep onset, with results that are more useful than they might seem. Research comparing different types of pre-sleep writing found that composing a detailed, specific to-do list was associated with faster sleep onset than writing about tasks already completed. The specificity of the unfinished tasks appeared to most effectively discharge the planning mind, reducing the need for mental rehearsal at bedtime. The underlying principle is consistent with what researchers understand about pre-sleep cognition. The mind resists sleep when it feels its responsibilities are unaddressed. Giving those responsibilities a clear home on paper frees the mind to leave them there. The page holds tomorrow. The night becomes available for now. The science of sleep is still relatively young by the standards of medicine. For most of human history, sleep was observed, but not understood. The discovery of REM sleep in the early 1950s opened the modern era of sleep research. The detailed characterization of sleep's role in memory consolidation, emotional processing, immune function, and metabolic regulation has unfolded primarily over the last 3 decades. The field continues to move, with new findings emerging regularly that deepen and sometimes refine the understanding of what happens in those hours of darkness. What this means practically is significant. The science we have today is already more than enough to transform how most people sleep, and there is more to come. We are still, in many ways, just beginning to understand the night. Gratitude practices performed before bed have been associated with faster sleep onset and higher subjective sleep quality in research examining pre-sleep cognitive and emotional states. The mechanism appears to involve a shift in attentional focus, away from unresolved concerns and toward what is already present and valued, that reduces the activation of the brain's alarm systems at the time when they most need to quiet. Writing down even 2 or 3 specific things from the day that were good, or kind, or simply present, has been found in studies to meaningfully shift pre-sleep mood. The practice does not require perfection or abundance. It requires only honesty and a willingness to look at the day from a slightly different angle before setting it down. 3/4 of the way through our journey, the shape of the answer has become clear. Sleeping better is not about discipline or effort. It is about understanding the body's natural intelligence, its rhythms, its needs, its wisdom, and creating the conditions in which that intelligence can work. The facts we have explored tonight are not a prescription. They are an invitation to trust the process that your body has been performing night after night for your entire life. The science of sleep ultimately confirms what sleep itself has always offered, that when you allow it, when you are kind to the conditions it requires, it will do what it was always designed to do. It will restore you completely and quietly. And well, you might be feeling tired now. That's perfectly fine. Consider this. Sleep does not come when you try for it. It comes when you stop trying. Not because the body is stubborn, but because the body knows something the trying mind does not. It knows that rest is not an achievement. It is a release. You have been breathing without effort your entire life. Your heart has been beating without reminder. Tonight, sleep is trying to do the same thing, to arrive, the way all the body's automatic gifts arrive. By itself, in its own time, whenever you are ready to let it. We're almost there now. Sleep is a form of self-compassion. Every night you give your body adequate rest. You are offering it something irreplaceable. Something no supplement, no stimulant, and no amount of effort during the day can fully substitute for. A simple, ancient act of care return to you in the form of every restored morning. The brain during deep sleep is quieter than it is during almost any other state. Not absent, quietly organizing, moving the day's experiences toward their permanent home. Every night, without instruction, it decides what is worth keeping. The choosing happens in the silence. The silence is the work. Your heart rate slows by 10 to 30 beats per minute during deep sleep. The cardiovascular system takes the rest that waking life denies it. This slowing is not weakness. It is recovery. The rhythm of a heart that has been allowed to set its own pace. At last, in the quiet of the night, most people fall asleep within 10 to 20 minutes of lying down in a comfortable, dark environment with no reason to remain awake. The body knows the way. It has known since before you could speak. What it asks of you, most nights, is simply this: to stop standing in the doorway and to come inside. Dreams most often feel urgent while they are happening. Upon waking, they dissolve. Researchers think this forgetting is not accidental. The brain may be releasing what it has processed, keeping the substance while discarding the intensity. A quiet form of letting go, practiced every single night. Long before anyone thought to name it, the muscles of the body reach their deepest relaxation during REM sleep. The jaw unclenches. The shoulders drop. The hands open at the palms, the way a child's hands open in sleep. The body, when fully at rest, returns to something close to the ease of earliest life. Before it learned to brace against the world, waking briefly in the night is not a failure of sleep. Most adults naturally rouse for a moment between sleep cycles, the body rolling over, adjusting, checking the darkness, and returning. This is normal. Ancien. The sleeping mind simply taking its quiet bearings before continuing. You can let it pass. You can let it pass without meaning. Research on bedroom environments suggests the optimal sleeping temperature for most adults falls between 60 and 67 degrees Fahrenheit. Cool enough to invite the core temperature drop the brain is waiting for. Warm enough to keep the body comfortable through the long hours of the night. The body has a preferred climate for rest. When you offer it, the body recognizes it. The sounds of nature, rain on a window, the slow rhythm of ocean waves, wind moving through leaves, appear to calm the nervous system in measurable ways. They may reflect associations built across millions of years of evolutionary history. Sounds that once signaled a safe environment, a quiet night, permission to lower the guard. The body still hears them the same way. The body still responds. Each morning, you wake. Your brain has spent the night deciding who you are, which memories to strengthen, which emotions to soften, which experiences to weave more firmly into the story of yourself. You wake slightly different than you lay down, not as a metaphor, as a neurological fact. Sleep is how we become, continuously, a little more of what we are becoming. Gratitude before sleep does something measurable to the brain. It shifts attention away from what is unresolved toward what is already present and good. Research has found this shift reduces the alarm systems that delay sleep onset, allowing the nervous system to complete its transition more smoothly, finding even one thing on even the most difficult of days. That was worth noticing. This is a practice the science supports and the body welcomes. The breath in sleep becomes slower and more regular than it is in any waking state. This regularity is itself a signal, an automatic reassurance the nervous system sends to itself, repeated with every inhale and exhale, that in this moment, all is well. The breath is always doing this, whether you notice it or not. It is always already on your side. Children who are read to before bed tend to fall asleep more easily than those who are not. The mechanism involves more than routine, though routine matters. A calm, narrated voice draws the mind gently forward without demanding it perform, creating a state of receptive attention that slides, almost without noticing, into rest. A listening mind is a resting mind. The science of the bedtime story is older than science itself, and the body has never stopped responding to it. The rest and recovery branch of the nervous system governs the body during sleep. Its activation slows the heart, deepens the breath, releases the muscles, and supports the quiet work of digestion and repair. Every process the body carries out during sleep is, at its root, an expression of this system's intelligence, its gentleness, patience, its knowing. It does not need to be activated. It needs only to be allowed. Researchers studying sleep in traditional societies living close to the natural light cycle have found that their sleep patterns differ from those in industrialized settings in meaningful ways. They tend to sleep in alignment with darkness, and many show evidence of waking briefly around the middle of the night before returning to sleep. The single consolidated block of nighttime sleep common in modern life may itself be a relatively recent arrangement. If you wake in the quiet of the night and find yourself briefly alert, you may be doing something very old, something your body has always known how to do. Restorative sleep carries a quality that hours alone cannot guarantee, a sense of having been somewhere deep and returned from it. This quality is what sleep science ultimately works toward. Not duration as a number, but rest as an experience felt in the first moment of waking, before thought arrives. That experience is available. It is available tonight. It tends to come most readily when the body has been trusted to find it on its own. The body's cellular repair processes are most active during the first deep sleep cycles of the night. Whenever those cycles occur for you, tissue regeneration, immune activity, and hormonal restoration concentrate in the early hours of sleep, when slow-wave sleep is at its deepest. This is one reason that the first portion of sleep is among the most restorative, regardless of what the clock reads when it begins. The body does not wait for permission to begin its repair. It begins the moment sleep makes space for it. Trust is perhaps the most underappreciated ingredient in healthy sleep. Trust that the body knows what to do. Trust that sleep will come. Trust that the night is safe enough for consciousness to release its grip. Many sleep difficulties, when examined gently, involve some form of lost trust. In the body, in the environment, in the passage of time, the return to sleep is, in part, the return to trust. And trust, like sleep itself, cannot be forced. It can only be cultivated, slowly, by learning that the body has been keeping its part of the agreement all along. The last conscious thoughts before sleep tend to linger into the early stages of dreaming. What you bring to the threshold of sleep has a quiet influence on the texture of what follows. This is not a reason for anxiety. It is a gentle invitation to place something soft at the edge of the night, something kind, something small and good and worth carrying into the dark, where the dreaming mind will find it and know what to do. Falling asleep is not something you do. It is something you allow. The body has been preparing all day. The brain has been accumulating its need. The chemistry has been shifting since the light began to fade. What sleep asks of you, in the end, is only this: to stop holding on and to let it carry you. You have already done everything required. The rest is given freely. The rest, now, is yours. And so, our quiet journey through the science of sleep comes gently to its close. We have traveled from the first whisper of adenosine accumulating before noon to the glymphatic channels tending the brain in the deepest hours of the night. We have moved through the architecture of cycles and the wisdom of stages, through the bidirectional intimacy of sleep and emotion, through the practices that work and the understanding of why they work, through trust, breath, temperature, and the ancient intelligence of a body that has always known what to do when the world goes dark. What we discovered along the way is that sleep is not a problem to solve. It is a relationship to tend, between the mind and the body, between the night and the nervous system, between what you need and what, if given the chance, arrives all on its own. Sleep reminds us that the body is on our side. Much of its most important work happens in silence, in darkness, in the hours when we are least aware of it. It reveals a patience that does not require our involvement, a persistence that continues through every night, regardless of whether we notice or appreciate it. Without sleep, we would not be who we are. When we wake, by pausing to understand it, we glimpse something extraordinary in the most ordinary experience of our lives. In these final minutes, take the deepest breath you can. As deep as possible, think about unity of every sleeping mind on this earth right now. Every person lying in the quiet of their room, in every time zone, across every continent, doing exactly what you are doing, returning to the same ancient state, the same restoration, the same release. You are not alone in this. Let your entire being dissolve into the space between waking and sleeping, where thought becomes image, and image becomes stillness, and stillness becomes the deep, wordless rest your body has been waiting for all day. Prepare for deep sleep. No boundaries left between you and it. Only peace. If tonight's journey through the science of sleep helped you feel a little less alone in your restlessness, or offered something that settled the busy part of your mind. Perhaps leave a quiet thought in the comments, or share this with someone else lying awake somewhere tonight. They may be searching for exactly this. One gentle night, one sleepy soul at a time. But there is nothing at all you need to do now. Nothing. You have traveled far tonight, through decades of research, through the biology of your own body, through 100 quiet facts about the science that governs the hours you spend here, in the dark, in the soft weight of rest. You can allow all of it to fade now, like a conversation heard from another room. Familiar, soft, no longer requiring your attention, leaving only the calm it always carried beneath it. Let your breathing deepen. Let your body feel heavier, as if a gentle and patient gravity has gathered you to it, and is simply, quietly, holding you. If sleep comes, let it carry you the way it was always going to, without force, without effort, without announcement, into a realm where time and weight no longer matter. If your eyes are still open, the next video is waiting for you, ready to continue the journey. But if they are closed, stay there. Stay in the darkness that feels safe and warm. Tomorrow, your body will still know how to do this. The night will still offer what it has always offered. Sleep will still come, the way it always has, the way it always will. But tonight belongs to stillness. Rest well, sleepy soul. And remember, the body that carries you through every waking day is, right now, quietly caring for you in return. Good night.